Hi everyone, welcome to Heart and Soul. This is a series where we're going to delve into things of God and just see where it takes us. We're going to be somewhat mentioning this book, Draw the Circle. So if you want to buy it, it's about $10 on Amazon, or you can just go to a bookstore and get it. If you want to participate and actually do the book while we're talking about it. I'm not going to go like day by day or anything like that. So, you do this on your own and see where it takes you. So, first of all, I want to say that yes, I have a third child now in the line of a hurricane. I had two in Houston during Hurricane Harvey, and I have now Lexi's in the path of Hurricane Irma. I am so sick of the Weather Channel, I can't even tell you. But she's fine, and I believe they're going to stay because anyway, I don't know what's going to happen. They may come here tonight. I don't know. Okay. Today, all I wanted to really talk about was something I read back through the intro and day one of this of this book. And one of the things that jumped out at me about prayer that this book talks about is to pray regularly. There was a man in the Bible in Acts named Cornelius, and it mentioned that he prayed regularly. And God used him in a mighty way to meet up with Peter, that's one of the disciples of Jesus, and the yard guy's right there, of course, anyway, they had this important time together, and that was kind of what ushered in Christianity being open to the Gentiles and not just the Jews. So anyway, that's the whole situation. But the point is, he prayed regularly. So if you want something to change in your life, if you want something new, you have to do something different. So maybe you're the kind of person that just prays when they're in a panic, or just prays when they're about to have a car wreck. Oh my gosh, help me. Those kind of things. You're in a plane crash, you're praying. Those prayers, God hears them and everything, but most people that pray those kind of prayers only, they never have a lot of communication with God, because they're using him like a vending machine. Like, when I need you, I'm going to call on you, but for the rest of my life, I'm just going to, do my own thing. You know how that kind of a thing. So I think it's important to have commitment. These are my notes. I think it's important to have commitment. That is something that this book did for me. Now, I always prayed regularly, okay? But it was more sporadic, in the morning, the evening, and the night. And then that doesn't matter. That's fine. Prayer is anytime you want to pray. Believe me. But I believe, too, that some kind of a time set aside, a specific time of day or whatever, really can make a difference in your life. And that is what happened to me. When Diane and I discussed that she had done this, my friend that gave me the book originally in June, well, June 1st is the day I began the book, which was my birthday. So we talked about it, and we didn't do the book together because she had already done it, but we decided to pray together, well, not physically together, every single morning. Like, she was at her house doing her thing, I was at my house doing my thing. We didn't call each other, we didn't check with each other, nothing like that. But we agreed to pray every morning at 7:14. And the reason I just kind of threw that number out there is because that's what this guy did in one part of the book. He said that he prayed every day at 7:14. And so we decided to do that. And y'all, I didn't think I would make it. I didn't think I would do it. But I did. For 40 days without fail, I prayed at 7:14 in the morning. I set my alarm on my phone for 7. Usually I get up around 6:15, but just in case I oversleep or something, I have it set for 7 so that I can get up, get awake, and pray at 7:14. And something about doing it consistently every single day, I think I've missed 2 days since June 1st, because it's just set in my mind. Those 2 days I was sick or something, and I did sleep right through 7:14. So I think it's cool to have a time of day, a place, if you can, to pray consistently for the things in your life that you really want God to help you with. And remember, prayer, there's no rules. But prayer is just talking to God, Just tell him what you think, tell him what's on your mind, you know, tell him your fears, tell him what you're worried about. You know, see if he might reveal some answers to you or give you some help in these areas if you pray consistently and you pray specifically. That's something else. You know, a lot of people say, "Dear God, feed the hungry." Well, that's a great prayer, but I think the more specific you are, the better it is, because then when that prayer is answered, you see it and it gives you faith. It gives you energy. It gets you really excited, like, "Oh my gosh, I prayed for that and it's happening." So that's a really cool thing too. Let's see what else I put. Yeah, prayer is just pouring your heart out to God. Another thing I think that we as humans do, because we're so used to automatic everything, you know, fast-paced world, answers to everything quickly. Google, 2 seconds, you have the answer to almost anything. So we are used to quick answers. Well, God does not work on our timetable. I'm sure you've noticed that in your life, that God doesn't have, his timetable is totally different than ours. So pray about something, but then don't try to make your prayer come true by manipulating things, if that makes any sense. You know, don't try to manipulate God or make something happen by your own will when you've put it in God's hands. Now, helping and addressing issues and all that, of course, but I'm not sure if you understand what I'm saying, but don't try to force things. If you're praying about it, you can leave it in God's hands, and unless he tells you to do something, and then you do it, and then you leave it in God's hands, okay? One other thing I think is really important, for me especially, is years ago, and I think I've shared this, but years ago I started writing my prayers down, journaling, okay? Journaling my prayers. And I'm going to show you in another video what I've been doing. This is my prayer journal for right now, and it's mostly writing, okay? Until I started this book. And then I started doing art and things in my journal. And I can't tell you the difference, and I'm going to share that with you in another video. There's something about art that connects you in a different way than even just writing or even just praying silently or anything like that. Pray out loud if you can, if you're in a space where you can do that. Pray out loud. And of course, you set your own time. You don't have to do 7:14. But it would be cool if a bunch of us were doing 7:14 every morning praying. That would be really a cool thing, I think. Okay, now I told you, I think last video, oh yeah, I want to address that too. In the last video, I talked about the difficulties that I've been going through for years, okay, for the past few years. Well, I want to make sure that I remind you, because a couple of people said, "Oh, I would have never known, I would have never known." Well, even though the situations that we were in were horrible and difficult, I still pulled up my own bootstraps and managed to get through every day with a smile. What I was trying to convey to you, it was that inside I didn't have peace, but on the outside I could still function, I could still have fun, but I always had that thing that dragging me down, that stuff just dragging me down so badly. So it proves to you that you can think you know a person and you think their life is perfect or whatever you might think, but then if you really talk to them and you really get to know them, they probably have something dragging them down too. But mine was to a point that it was just way out of control. So once I started, I mean by day 3 of this book, the clouds started lifting. It was just amazing. And the reason is because you start praying focused prayers. And the reason it's called Draw the Circle is because he says to take the things, the big things in your life or the little things, and you write them out and then you circle them, okay? You circle them. And it's kind of like a visual thing. God has got this. God has got this. And sometimes I think a physical act connects your brain more than just praying it, right? Because I remember in the Bible, a lot of times in the Old Testament, when they would cross a river or something big happened, they would put up like a monument type thing. Like they would stack stones or do different things like that. And I think it's a visual reminder of what God's done for you, because when the going gets tough, sometimes you forget all the good stuff. I did I might get it out for y'all one day. I did a life timeline years ago when I did something with Brave Girls Club, the Brave Girls Club. And it was this timeline of my life. And it started when I was born, and it went all the way till my 40s, when everything fell apart. Sometime in my 40s, it's when everything just went down. So I was only focused on that bad thing. And then when I looked back and I saw all those years that I had a good life, I still had a good life, but all those years of all the great things in my life, I realized you have to look at your life as a whole. You can't just focus on this one or 10 bad things that are going on right now. You have to look at it as a whole. Be thankful and grateful for everything, you know? And so that really helped me to not only focus on the bad stuff, on the things that, you know, were bad. And so I still can have a good time. I can still, because I knew I had to do all that for my family. I could, if I went down, I feel like kind of, y'all, I don't know, you might disagree, that the mom is the nucleus of a family. And if she goes down, it's hopeless. I mean, now there's tons of strong dads, but a mom is different. It's just different. It's just different. If mom goes down, the ship is almost going to have to sink, because or the dad has to step all the way up to the plate and take over. So I knew I didn't want, my husband needed to work. I needed to be strong. I needed to be the one, you know, whatever. So I remained strong and I functioned. I know sometimes people lose their ability to function if depression really sets in and it's chemical and all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're down, you're depressed, you get angry, you know, just, oh, you know, poor pitiful me. And then you just get in bed and don't get out. You know, those kind of things happen. But if you do that, man, it's harder to get out of bed after you've been in it for 5 days than it is the second morning you've done that, or something like that. Okay, am I even making sense? I hate this because I'm so afraid, like I'm sweating now because I'm so afraid I'm gonna say something wrong. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. Okay, here was my story. Okay, so I got the book. I started reading the book. As soon as I started the book, man, I was hit with some things. Not big things, but let me tell you something, that the things I was hit with would have really drugged me down before. Really, really bad. And you know what I did? I just circled them. I just circled them in my book. One of the things that hit me once I started this, because I felt like I was under sort of an attack, and I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I felt like, you know, Satan did not want me doing this and did not want me connecting with these truths that I was learning. And so right after that is when my shoulder just really got worse and worse and worse. I had so much pain. And Scott had just left for Alabama and I was still in Houston. And, you know, I was alone. All these different things were happening. Some other things happened. Some car issues happened. And instead of going down in the dumps, I was able to look at it almost from a distance, like it was a part of my life, but it wasn't me. Do you know what I'm saying? I was able to separate myself a little bit from things that happened because I was circling them and giving them to God. So I was able to say, you know what? That's not my problem right now. You know, God, you got this. You got this. Carry this burden for me because I'm incapable of carrying any more burdens right now, okay? So a lot of things happen. Little things happen, big things happen. And all of a sudden I realized, I remember distinctly, I woke up one morning, not long after I started, and I felt weird. Like I had a weird feeling. And this has happened to me before, but it never lasted. And I thought, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong? I felt weird. And I got up and I got some coffee and all of a sudden I realized what it was. I was at peace. And it felt like a big chunk of me was missing. Like it was an uncomfortable feeling that I didn't have something going on in my mind to talk about and think about and worry about. I think worry is so addictive. You start and you can't stop. And that's where I was. Well, something just had changed in me. And I was at peace. And y'all, that was in June. And this is September. So I'm like, wow. And I remember yesterday I was sitting on the porch and I was just sitting there. I didn't have a book with me. I didn't have a magazine. I didn't have my phone. I didn't have my iPad. I had nothing. And I was able to just sit there and rock and listen to the birds and not have anything horrible going on in my head. It was like a miracle, y'all. It was like a miracle. I hope that if you are in the state that I was in, you hear me and you get this book, or you just start praying. That's all you need to do is start praying to God, okay? Now, one other thing that happened is as soon as we moved, when we finally moved here with our stuff, like everybody was all confused. Did you move again? Did you move again? No. Scott moved first and I followed, okay? So we came together here in August with our belongings. And either that night or the night after, our air conditioner was stolen from our townhome outside. Stolen. They took it apart and took the guts out of it. And well, of course we didn't know this had happened. It's behind a fence, you know. And so, you know, we're sitting at home and everything, or here, and the realtor calls and says, you know, the air conditioner, what did you set your air conditioner on? It's 100 degrees, you know, it's 80 degrees in this house. It's 85 degrees. It's hot. It's oppressive. And I said, I put it on like 78 or 77. And she said, oh, well, it needs to be down further. It needs to be down. Well, then I sent my neighbor over and she went in and she said, it's so hot in here. So I said, okay, turn the unit off, because we thought maybe it froze up from having the doors open all day with the movers. Although it was cold when we left the house. And she went over, she turned it off a couple of hours. She went back and turned it on. It didn't cool the house. Well, I had a whole weekend to think about it because we had an AC guy going out on Monday to check and fix it. We had no idea what was wrong with it. It had gone out of warranty, well, maybe 30 days ago, 30 days before. It was a 2-year warranty on the AC. My old self would have just added that on the pile of everything I was holding on to, and I would have built it up to where, you know, we got to replace this air conditioner. It's broken completely. It's going to cost thousands of dollars. That's a possibility. That could have happened. But instead, I just was able to say, like a normal person, I guess we'll find out Monday what's wrong. Who is this person? I didn't lay awake thinking about it. I mean, it would cross my mind and I think, I can't. But honestly, when we heard the news that it was, we didn't know yet. So we just looked at each other, and over the weekend we were just like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. And so anyway, Monday morning the AC guy went to look at it. And he was gone. He was there about 10 minutes and he called Scott. He sent Scott a picture of the unit outside and said, this is why you have no air. You have no unit. Well, you know what? That ended up being the better thing because that was covered by insurance, right? So the police had to come, and then the fixer guy had to come. Okay, and hold on for this. It's, so we had to call the insurance. Insurance came, and all this is happening in these days. And the insurance said, it's fine, we'll pay for it, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then, so they said, we'll mail you a check. And so Scott called the AC guy and he said, you know, how about doing it on Friday? We should have the check by then. How about that? And he said, great. Well, in the meantime, the hurricane hits. So now I'm sitting at home here in Alabama, knowing my air conditioner's not working, knowing there's a hurricane hitting. It could flood my daughter, it could flood my son, and it could flood the townhome. But y'all, I only had like one time where I kind of got really worried about that hurricane. It was for my grandkids, you know. I got really worried for a minute about them and everything, and their dog, and it's a long story what happened to them, but they weren't even home. They ended up being stuck at someone's house for 5 days, and their dog was in their house, but it all got taken care of. But anyway, so all this is going on. The air conditioner's still not fixed, and guess what else? Right after the air conditioner fix broke, that's when we sold the townhome. So we were able to sell a townhome with not a working air conditioner. When they're going through it sweating, it's sold. So we'll close in like 2 days from now. So the air conditioner is being fixed, but I was able, and now there's another hurricane coming, and I'm at peace. And so I'm telling you all this just to tell you that prayer works. And if you allow God, if you're consistent and you allow God, the consistency is for us, not for Him, I believe. Prayer is for us more than it's for Him. He knows what we need before we ask Him. But the more we go to Him, the more we talk to Him, the more we communicate with Him, the more our faith grows. And the more we trust Him. It's all about trust. It's all about trust. It's about trusting God to take care of you. And not whining when you think He's not taking care of you. Although He doesn't mind if you whine sometimes. He doesn't mind because He knows how you feel inside anyway. One more thing. My friend Diane and I were talking about me moving here. I had just come here. And I said, it's just kind of difficult to be here. And my kids are there. 2 kids are in Texas. My parents are in Texas. His parents are in Texas. My other child's in Florida. And I'm sitting here in Alabama. And I'm like, what is God doing? What's going on here? This is crazy. And she said something to me that was so profound. She was texting me, actually. And this gave me such peace. And I'm sticking with it because I love it. She texted me the following words. Because I was saying, this is so hard to be here, Okay, here it is. She texted me back and she said, this journey you're on is what will strengthen your trust muscles and cause you to live in freedom. Freedom. That became my word. Freedom. Freedom from the angst, the panic, the worry, the ruminating all over everything and going over things over and over and dreaming up a million different scenarios. Well, what if this? Well, what if this? Well, what if that? I've quit doing that. And it's freeing. It's really freeing. So I hope that you can find freedom too in this. And I think that's all I have to say today. I'm going to, I gave my testimony years ago on an Easter Sunday on YouTube. And if I can find that, I'm going to link it in the description box just in case you want to know, my salvation story and why I believe in God and why I believe in Jesus and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to link that below if I can find it. And please leave a comment. And if you have any topics that you want me to address about prayer or anything, I will address them, put them in the comments. But listen, y'all, I'm not a theologian. I've not been to Bible school. Well, I went to Bible school when I was little. I haven't taken classes in Bible. I have done a lot of Bible studies, and but I am no more qualified to talk to you than anyone other than I am a boots on the ground Christian, and I can share with you what's happened to me. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.